When you communicate with your doctor, when you ask more questions, you reduce your risk of suffering a medical mistake. Doctors can't answer if you don't ask. Help reduce your risk. Questions are the answer. Learn the 10 questions you must ask. Visit www.ahrq.gov. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, and the Ad Council.
The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
The following program is paid for by Barbara Arnwine.
The topics, views, and opinions expressed on the air and via All Igniting Change with Barbara Arnwine, platforms by host Barbara Arnwine Esquire, guests, and supporters are their own and are independent of any organization, entity. Nothing said on the show or any of its platforms constitutes a client-attorney relationship or serves as legal advice counsel. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to Igniting Change, its platforms, or the show's host. It's time now for Igniting Change, a weekly provocative and empowering program where you, the listener, can ignite change. Now here's your host, Barbara Arnwine.
Get up, stand up.
All right now. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Igniting Change. Oh, we got a show for you today because guess what, people? We're 80-something days away from November 5th from the national presidential election. Yes, and of course we said presidential, but we want you to vote your full ballot. We want to make sure that all of you out there right now, today, check your voter registration because they purged last week, and people in one county in Nevada, they purged 112,000 people. Let me get that straight. So people, check your voter registration. Go to vote.org right now. We also want to make sure that if you have not registered, that you're registering now. Get your registration done early. Don't be a last-minute person. That's dangerous in this climate. You want to make sure that you are registered now. With that said, let me bring on my mighty co-host, because it is time to get our voting on, and nobody in this country does it better than my co-host. He is the chair of the board of the Transformative Justice Coalition, and he is also one of the most amazing attorneys in this country, innovators, a street fighter if I ever met one. I am talking about none other than my co-leader at the Transformative Justice Coalition, the mighty Daryl D. Jones Esquire. Hey, Daryl.
Hey, Barbara, it must be Tuesday. It must be noon Eastern Standard Time because we're talking about igniting change. But, Barbara, I tell you, I don't know if there's been more change igniting across this country than we've seen in the last 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks as we've been watching the young folk, 18 to 35, registering, like it's a big concert that they want to go to. Getting tickets. They're registering to vote, and it's so exciting. And I tell you, Barbara, for our listeners, if you know anybody, or if you're in Wisconsin, if you're in Minnesota, Connecticut, or Vermont, today's your primary day, so be certain that you make it to the poll today to get your vote on. But, Barbara, you're absolutely right. This has been just an exciting time that we've been coming along with. The show today continues with that excitement. You talk about not being able to wait to November for the election. I can't wait to September the 10th for the debate. I want to see the debate. I just think it's going to be such an exciting time of everything we're going to be watching, Barbara, and experiencing.
Absolutely. And I've been cracking up. Anybody who follows Transformative Justice Coalition, you know that we always say that voting should be fun, that voting should be what, folks? Full of joy. So we're laughing as we watch this particular election season and see that theming coming out of one of the campaigns, it really tickles us. But we have some talking to do, folks, because a lot's going on, and you're being bombarded with a lot of information. So we want to start today's show as we did last week. Last week, we devoted the whole show to the issue of race and the media and their failures. What can be done about it? How do we make them do better? Well, we decided that from now until the election is over, we're going to talk about race, the media, and the elections 2024 as the opening part of every one of our segments. And we are so lucky to have for this show none other than the mighty leader of the Concerned Black Men of America. I'm talking about their president and CEO, Dr. Karen McRae. Hi, Dr. McRae.
Hey, Barbara. Hey, Daryl. How you doing today? Look, before we get started, I want to say, when we talk about joy, we've got to talk about TJC and his fish fries in Milwaukee and every place else, Daryl, about how voting and voting registration needs to be joyous, energized, celebratory happening. So let's start where we are with you all and congratulate and thank TJC for all it does and has done in that area.
I just love Karen and Daryl, how TJC culture, our electoral politic, our electoral practice, how that's being adopted all over the country right now. And we're just so happy to see it, really permeating throughout all the media, permeating, to so many, places and consciousness and awareness and people, calling us, talking about their votercades and all of the things that they're doing that TJC put out there into the atmosphere. Very, very happy about it. And we're going to keep going. Folks, you ain't seen nothing yet. Get ready for TJC. We're coming hard. September and October, get ready for us because we're having a national conference series you're going to hear about. And you're going to hear about the Gen Z training that we're getting ready to do in September. You're going to hear about these things. We can't wait. So, Karen, Lord have mercy. Since our last show, there has been a so-called press conference. Lord have mercy, in Mar-a-Lago. But before we get to that, what is the grade that you want to give this media throughout the country? I'm talking about the mainstream media in the United States. How would you grade their coverage of the elections and race? From a scale of 1 to 5. With a scale of, we're doing a report card. So we're going to give them a scale of A through F. How have they done?
I believe they're still failing. I don't think that they've learned their lessons from 2016. I think they're still treating it as good business versus what's good for America. I think the black press is the only one that has consistently got it right with respect to calling a lie and a thing versus calling it, it's just making it normal. And I think mainstream press is still normalizing his behavior. They still use words like falsehood versus lies. They still don't name the fact that he is a deceiver. You have this quote unquote, Christian nationalist people, energized and infused in that as well too. And if they supposedly are Bible believing people, then a deceiver versus a liar versus both.
My.
Call a thing a thing. You have to call a thing a thing, and they haven't done it.
And so Karen, Daryl, every time I watch, I looked at that Mar-a-Lago thing. I subjected myself. I don't know why I tortured my poor little self, but I absolutely listened to the interview on X with Elon Musk and the former President Trump last night. Lord, I subjected myself to that also for hours. So in any event, but the whole purpose is trying to, really to ascertain what's going on in this media and to look at how they're doing. He has been reported by the New York Times since our last show to have called the candidate on the other side an effing B. Word in public. He has been, running around to about low IQ, and other kinds of, and his denigration of her racial identity has been Brian Donald, and all of his surrogates have been on TV, especially his black surrogates, pushing that line hard. Trying to alienate African American voters from her. Why is it that even with all of this, that there's so little accountability, Karen, in the media to cover this campaign better?
I think part of it, and Daryl, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that we have this reality TV mindset that quote-unquote journalists have adopted versus applying journalistic practices and ethics to how they cover news. The whole construct of Vice President Harris's identity, we know where that's based. That's based in white supremacy. So and it's not new for us to have black folk who carry the water of others because they have nothing better to do and don't know themselves. So I just kind of attribute it to the reality TV mindset with respect to the lack of accountability. In his Mar-a-Lago presentation, according to NPR, he lied 162 times within that 90 minutes or so. In his 4 years, he lied over 30,562 times in 4 years as the president. And then the media also buys into, I believe, trying to take little bits of Vice President Harris's title from her, just like they did with President Obama. Instead of calling him President Obama, it was just Obama. Instead of calling her Vice President Harris, it's just Harris. But the former president wants to be called President Trump at all times. Not former president, but President Trump. And they have institutionalized, just by trying to denigrate a little bit of the position that they hold by doing those little things. And I think that they feed into it.
Wow. Daryl?
And, Karen, it's really interesting that you raised that up because, when you start talking about the news and the news coverage, I think that, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, I think we've seen a change just in the way that news is delivered in general. So, and particularly in the political world, it appears as though the news now is more focused on the entertainment side of it, that they want to hold the audience captive with the entertainment side of it. They want to be able to, profit financially from commercials because of the entertainment side of the news, as opposed to doing the investigative reporting and the heavy journalism, asking the heavy questions. And I would support that, Karen, by saying that even when former President Trump was doing the interview, any of the interviews, very rarely do we see the interviewers, the press folk that are doing the interview, really go after him on facts, trying to do the investigative reporting, digging into the information, dig into the facts. Rather, you sort of do it for an entertainment value. What are your thoughts on that? Am I wrong?
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree because they want access. You look at the relationship between, as an example, Maggie Haberman and her mother as a PR professional and the Trump campaign and her having access and being dubbed the Trump whisperer on some network. There should be a demarcation between what you do for a living and how you cover that person. And fact checking was always a part of this scenario. At least it is when they cover someone that looks like us. It's always a part of this scenario when they look like us. And the other thing I think they try to do is they try to become the celebrity themselves versus taking a step back. Where are the Bernard Shaws? Where are the Sam O'Donnells? The Dan Rathers, those folks who just gave you straight the way that it was. They didn't try to massage. They didn't try to become the story. They weren't Geraldo Rivera in the tomb or anything like that. They were just giving us the facts. So now we have, the transference of that